Fractional leaders aren't here for job security. We're here to build legacies. We remove the internal angst that clouds big decisions. We're not protecting titles or playing politics. We're focused on what drives transformation, growth, and lasting impact. Hi there, I'm Kerry Curran, B2B Revenue Growth Executive Advisor, industry analyst, and host of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. Every episode, I sit down with top experts to bring you actionable strategies that drive real results. If you're serious about growth, hit subscribe and stay ahead of the competition. In The Rise of the Fractional CMO, How to Accelerate Revenue Growth Without the Overhead, I sit down with Virginie Glaenzer, a fractional CMO, tech entrepreneur, and community builder. We explore how fractional marketing leaders are reshaping go-to-market execution, AI adoption, and executive alignment across today's most innovative organizations. Be sure to stay tuned to the end, where Virginie shares her advice on how to scope your first fractional engagement and make immediate impact without the overhead. Let's go. So welcome, Virginie. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Thank you so much, Kerry, for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited. I think the work you're doing is amazing. So my name is Virginie Glaenzer. I'm originally from France. I'm your typical immigrant. I actually had quite an interesting journey. I moved in 1998 to San Francisco Bay Area. I started a couple of software businesses, and I had my fair share of successes and failures. And then after 17 years in Silicon Valley, I moved to New York for about 12 years, where I became VP of Marketing and CMO for mid-sized organization. And I've been in DC for the last year and a half. In the last 30 years, most of my career, I've been a B2B SaaS tech helping organization. And today, as a fractional CMO, I really enjoy supporting small to mid-sized organization companies who are trying to disrupt their industry, mostly in the tech, or they do have some aspect of technology within their offering. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, thank you. No, very excited to speak with you today. I know you have a wealth of experience, but where I want to start is kind of diving into fractional CMO and just the evolution of the fractional executive. I know you do a lot, both as a fractional CMO and as the leader of Acorn Oak. So I'd love to hear kind of what you've seen in regards to the evolution and kind of where, how you see it being so valuable.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I actually fell into the fractional model. I never thought I was going to be a consultant, but I can tell you it has changed my life. I love it. And I chose the fractional path because I wanted to make real lasting change. When I was a VP of marketing, I always felt that people wanted me to make them feel comfortable instead of guiding them through change. Mm-hmm. But as a fractional CMO today, I offer unbiased outside perspective and really removing the anxiety and the internal angst that mm-hmm. often comes with big decision, which I was not really able to do when I was a full-time employee. So today, my focus isn't on protecting a title or even playing politics, I have to tell you that. It's about building a legacy, not job security. And so as a result, I'm really avoiding the drink the Kool-Aid syndrome that I think really often cloud judgment. So the fractional model really works, and I think it's been taking off after COVID, because with COVID, people realized they could hire people from other areas. Mm-hmm. And when you start hiring people online and they work remotely, you don't know how much time they're spending. So all you see is their ability to deliver. And I think that really why a lot of organizations are realizing that having a fractional executive who will do 2 days of work per week, but really that represents 4 days of traditional employee. They don't need more than that.
Yeah.
So it's quite remarkable. And then, of course, when you have on top of that AI that comes and disrupt organization, people within the organization do not want to rock the boat and make people uncomfortable. But when you hire a fractional, you can be, confident that that person is going to do whatever it needs to do to help people change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that example of being able to do, in 2 days per week that some people might do in 4 days per week, because you're right. When you can focus truly on the task or initiative, and you don't have other distractions that come with being a full-time employee, you can focus and get more done. I think, another benefit just to add to it as well is, as I talk to other fractional CMOs, we are tasked with staying on top of, as you mentioned, AI, but on top of trends, tech trends, strategy trends, trainings, other, solutions, or, learning from one client that you can apply to other clients, that you don't have that opportunity when you are that full-time employee, that person just narrowly focused just on the brand at hand.
Absolutely. And I think working with multiple clients also provides you with a different look at specific market.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a game changer for organization. You come in as a fractional with a wide experience and just a different perspective and so many frameworks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really a win-win for both the individual, because it's so satisfying, but
Mm-hmm.
also for the organization. What I'm seeing now is a trend. 6 years ago when I started, most of the work that I was hired for was really focused on projects. So,
Yeah.
solving big challenges or even urgency. But it has, 3 to 6 months, a
Mm-hmm.
very specific project. Nowadays, I have clients who are actually hiring me as a fractional CMO, and the assignment can last a couple of years.
Yeah.
Again, because as long as you're able to do what the company needs to
Mm-hmm.
help them reach their next phase of growth, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a smart way to get that expert level of support and engagement without the full-time costs of a full-time employee and that investment. So
Very true.
when you're like, talk to me about what you've seen, like, when should a company consider a fractional CMO or a fractional CMO advisor versus a full-time employee? Like, what are some of the kind of situations or company makeup that makes this a good recommendation?
Right. Well, so usually what I've seen is there's really three kind of areas or situation
Mm-hmm.
where a company will hire a fractional CMO.
Yeah.
And they know they're ready. One is your company is growing, but your marketing is not scaling with it.
Yeah.
You definitely need to have a CMO. Two, you're facing a market shift,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be either that or a funding round or a product pivot, something that is profoundly changing the DNA of your organization. You need to have a CMO. And
Yeah.
then the third would be if you're tired of disconnected campaigns and really you need to have an integrated strategy and execution,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're ready. For company that don't have a CMO, hiring a fractional CMO will allow to provide the team with strategic guidance.
Mm-hmm.
It would also help the marketing feel reactive, not proactive,
Yeah.
and you won't waste money on tactics that don't drive growth. Now, if you have CMO, which is another case for organization to hire a fractional CMO, they have a CMO on site. But what a fractional CMO can do is augment and elevate the internal marketing team
Mm-hmm.
by, one, playing bad cop when needed. So it allows internal leaders to stay aligned, especially when there is really big decision or difficult decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Number two would be to offer strategic pressure relief, without stepping on toes. I often say that I take the anxiety, the angst outside of organization. And then the third reason of why having a fractional CMO, even if you have a CMO, is just to support, not just to assess and advise, but also to roll up the sleeve and own some delivery pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no,
yeah.
those are really, really good examples, both to, fill in when there is not a CMO, but also to support the existing CMO. And we see the high turnover and short tenure for CMOs. And a lot of that is often because, the CMO comes in at a certain company stage level and they're not the right expertise or, just the right, they don't have the right background or experience to bring them to the next level of scale, but they have all this industry and company in knowledge and depth of brands, that, just, removing them from the team isn't necessarily the best solution. So I think, or, they came with a creative and brand strategy background, but now we need someone with more of a performance marketing background or a tech stack, AI background. And so this, to your point, like this gives the opportunity to keep that legacy knowledge with that first CMO and bring in expertise to kind of help them, train them, coach them without having to remove them.
Absolutely. And in today's environment where there's so much uncertainty and almost close to being in a recession, I think the fractional model makes even more sense, becomes a tactic to keep driving a company without having to pay the full price of a full-time executive. So I think we're going to see a lot more organization taking that path of hiring their next fractional executive.
Hey everyone, it's me, Kerry Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional Chief Growth Officer, I'll bring revenue-focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and AdTech buying behaviors, modern go-to-market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, we're revenue-based marketing that works. Yeah, I definitely agree. I know with the brands that I work with that are startup or scale up, they can't afford that executive full time. And what we see often happening is they go straight to sales-led growth that then kind of peters out. So to your point, you bringing in that fractional CMO to give that strategic foundation and brand, ICP refinement and brand messaging and kind of bringing in that strategy as the foundation to then drive that growth, I think is an important aspect.
Yeah.
So I know you talk about AI a lot of the kind of services and strategies you provide for your clients really have to do with transformation and AI. So talk about kind of what that looks like and why that's so valuable.
Sure. Happy to share. So there's definitely a few business challenges that I help my client with. AI is one of them. And I'm happy to give some example, but there's also, for example, these tariffs that are really front and center in every conversation that I have. And I think a lot of people are missing out on the tremendous opportunity. I can't even insist enough on how the tariff or actually an opportunity to revisit every center of your business and look at optimization, changing the way we do it, the way we hire, the way we produce. And I know these are not easy conversation, because there are organizations that have been really improving their processes and mastering the way they're going to market. But I think it is still very much an opportunity to look at the long-term strategic repositioning.
Yeah.
From an AI standpoint, there's so much we could cover. I mean, from how do you adapt to the GEO, which is generative engine optimization, the new baby of SEO. Some people say AI, AIO. So I because GEO could also mean geolocation from a marketing standpoint. But anyway, so it's about staying visible as algorithm evolves. In itself, it's such a fascinating industry or area that we're still all trying to figure out. AI also from a marketing standpoint, is impacting the way we work. So of course, most people have used AI at first to save time. So you can do things quickly, and so you're saving time. The second phase is actually to do faster what you're currently doing, but in a much better quality. So you're increasing the quality. But the third step, and I think that's where really there are profound changes, is when you look at AI, whether it's generative or non-generative AI, as how does that change the way you think about your work? And there's a lot of resistance in the marketplace. I just did a webinar on how to use AI in marketing without the risk of AI infringement. And what was interesting is we asked people, the attendees, if they had a policy, an AI policy, 0%. We had about 30 people live, but we did ask the question to the 80 people that registered, and 0% of 0 people. I mean, no one had actually had taking the time to write an AI policy. When we asked people if they were using AI professionally in their work, we actually had 60% of people saying that they were using AI in their work. So there's still 30% of people that were not using AI in their work. But that's one of the business challenges that we all have to face.
And it's a shift in organization and culture when you are starting to leverage AI more in your marketing strategy, or like you said, content development, and kind of the skill sets required as well.
Absolutely. I think there's other thing that comes to mind, for example, using, AI chatbot. And there's, of course, the promise versus the reality. But I think in today's world where the economy is so noisy and there's so many alternatives, so if there's something that someone doesn't feel about your website or the experience that you've created, they'll go to another vendor or another partner. So the customer experience cannot be an afterthought. It has to be front and center in order to, rise above the noise. And then I also feel that there's a lot of leadership resistance. A lot of engineers are resisting change when it comes to AI. Although I think I was just seeing 25% of Google's code is being generated by AI today, 25%. And they're expecting it to become, to reach 50% in just a year. And we're talking about Google here, Google engineers. So as a marketer, we're often caught between innovation and legal risk. And I think, marketers have often worked hand in hand with sales, and nowadays more often because of the SaaS model with product team and engineers, we have now to get closer to the legal team because of the challenge or the risk that we could face if we did not use AI in a proper way.
Yeah, that's so smart. And I think that's just another example of where an experienced fractional CMO can come in and really guide the organization. You're aware of
Exactly.
the risks and challenges and how to help be that partner that can help the companies kind of navigate that.
Yeah.
So I know we talked primarily about fractional CMOs, but I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about Acorn Oak and the community of fractional C-suite advisors that you've built, and kind of what the ideal scenario, future vision is for both Acorn Oak and women in those roles.
Absolutely. So, and I think that's one of the key lesson to take away if you're a company and you know that you need help and you want to hire a fractional executive, is to hire a fractional executive who belongs to a community.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is when you're hiring a trusted network like Acorn Oak, which is a community of fractional executive women and coaches, and TechCXO that I also belong to, you have more guarantee in terms of cultural fit, synergy, and faster results rather than hiring an individual. I've seen a big difference for when I was in the past by myself, for a few years working, at my own business versus when I started working with Acorn Oak woman or at TechCXO. It's been a game changer for me as a fractional. I can bring on other partners. And when you start adding to your team a fractional CRO, a CTO, whether it's project-based or long-term, these people already know each other.
Yep.
They are, they'll make your company a success. The alignment is right there, and there's no ego involved in the work. So I think the community aspect is so important.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree. And I think it's just, again, providing that resource of the fractional C-suite executive that has experience and can come in, whether it's building the foundation to get you set up for success or leading through transformation. There's so much value. So what is your advice for a company that might be considering a fractional CMO or other executive?
Well, I think the first step is we need to define the pain that they want to really have a clear understanding of what is the challenge, because that's going to be the first question that I ask is what's the priority? What's the pain? And sometimes when we dive deeper, we uncover things. So having, I think, an understanding can help and make it easier. When you hire a fractional, whether it's a CMO or someone else, it's having a clear understanding of the deliverable. I think that's really where a successful partnership will happen versus not being sure, not asking the right question. And then working with someone who's part of a community, because when you're part of a community, you can you're getting a lot more than one individual. This person can work collaboratively with other people within their community. They can tap other people's brain and have a lot more resources. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know you've
And not
Yeah.
wait, because if usually people who hire a fractional CMO is because they know that hiring a full-time can take a year and a half, because it's so complex. But when you hire a fractional, even if it's a short term, it's so quick. Like I meet organization 2 to 3 weeks after we've got on the phone a couple of times. That's it. We fine tune the scope of work. We know exactly what we want to address, and then we're on the call every week. The work gets done very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. You can be so much more nimble when you bring on a fractional CMO, and so much potential there. So thank you. This has been really valuable. I love hearing about all of your expertise in transformation and marketing leadership. So how can listeners find you?
I'm an open book. If you Google my name, I don't think there's many Virginie Glaenzer, so I'm quite easy to be found. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, less and less, but I'm still there.
Yep.
But LinkedIn would be the primary way. You can also go to acornoak.net and find me, or textexo.com, and you can also find me there.
Excellent. Well, I'll put that all in the show notes as well. But Virginie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. We've all really learned something, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Kerry, for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. If this episode sparked a new idea or perspective, be sure to follow the show and leave us a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the insights coming. And if you're ready to explore what fractional leadership could look like inside your business, head to revenuebasedmarketing.com for more expert strategies, CMO resources, and growth frameworks. Until next time, keep leading with impact. We'll see you soon.